My mother-in-law posted a photo of me and my 9-year-old with the caption, "Some people should not be allowed to have kids." Her whole family jumped in, mocking us, piling on insults, liking every cruel comment. My husband didn't join. He posted this. The group chat went dead silent. I found my daughter Hazel in her room tearing up her favorite painting. Not just any painting, the one she'd worked on for 3 days, the one she'd carried around the house like a pet, the one she told me she was finally proud of. Half of it was already shredded on the floor when I walked in. She didn't hear me at first. Her shoulders were shaking. Her hands were shaking. Everything in her was shaking. "Hayes?" I said, trying to keep my voice level. "What are you doing?" She froze mid-rip. Slowly, she turned her head toward me, eyes red, lashes clumped, face blotchy in that heartbreaking way where you can tell she tried not to cry, but failed hard. "I'm fixing it," she whispered. "Fixing what?" "Me." Those 2 syllables punched the air out of my lungs. Before I could respond, she reached for her phone and held it out with a trembling hand. "I didn't want to show you," she mumbled. "But I think you have to see." There was something about the way she said "have to" that made my heart do an ugly somersault. I took the phone. And there it was. A photo of me and Hazel in her room. Hazel smiling, paint on her cheek. Me laughing at something she'd said. And behind us? Yes. The usual explosion of markers and art and half-finished creations. It looked like a 9-year-old with a big imagination lived there, which, shocking news, she does. Then the caption, "Some people should not be allowed to have kids." I felt my pulse trip over itself. But Hazel wasn't looking at the picture. Her eyes were on me, watching, bracing. "Grandma posted it," she said, "in the family chat and on Facebook. Stella sent it to me. She said, Grandma is trying to warn people." I swallowed hard. "Warn them about what?" Hazel's lip wobbled. "Me?" "What? Hazel, no!" "Read the comments," she whispered, hugging her knees the way she does when she's trying not to fall apart. So I scrolled. My husband's sister Valerie commented, "This is honestly scary. Something is wrong with Hazel. No normal kid's room looks like that." Aunt Linda wrote, "She looks unstable in this pic. Look at her eyes. Does she get tested for stuff?" Uncle Todd added, "That child needs help. This is more than just messy. Kids who live like this grow up with major issues." Cousin Megan commented, "Is she medicated?" My friend's kid had the same problems before they diagnosed her. Just saying. Some relative I barely even knew wrote, "It's not right. That girl looks off." I'd be worried. Every line was a scalpel, slicing Hazel open while she watched. I scrolled further, each comment worse than the last. Valerie again. "Poor thing. She's basically being raised feral. No structure, no stability. What do you expect?" And then, like clockwork, Cheryl wrote again. "I've tried to help, but Jenna refuses to admit Hazel has issues. This room is always like this. It's not normal. Something isn't right with her. Not, she's a messy kid. Not, she's creative. Not, maybe we should mind our own business. No, just something isn't right with her." Hazel tucked her face down so her hair fell forward. "They think I'm broken," she whispered. My chest tightened. "Hazel? Grandma said you shouldn't have kids," she said. "But I'm your kid. So, she wishes you didn't have me." She didn't say it dramatically. She said it like a math equation, like she'd solved something. I sat beside her. "Hazel, look at me." She didn't. So I gently moved the hair from her face. Her eyes were full of tears, but still searching mine for the one answer that could stop everything from crashing. "There is nothing wrong with you," I said. "Not one thing." She dropped her gaze. Then why does everyone say there is? Because they're cruel. Because adults sometimes forget kids can read. Because your grandmother cares more about being right than being kind. Because this family treats different like a diagnosis. Because they're wrong, I said, steady as I could. All of them. Especially Grandma. Hazel nodded once, but she didn't believe me yet. I could feel it. She sniffed and reached for another painting, her sunset one, and I caught her wrist. Why are you throwing out your art? I asked. Her voice cracked. If I stop making messes, maybe they'll stop hating me. I swear I saw red behind my eyelids. Before I could respond, her phone buzzed in my hand. A new notification from the family group chat. Of course, because what 9-year-old doesn't need another blow before bedtime? I clicked. More comments were rolling in, like everyone had suddenly remembered they had opinions they forgot to weaponize earlier. My father-in-law Gerald wrote, "Kids don't act like this unless something's off, and Jenna just enables it." Some uncle named Bill apparently added, "Looks like a cry for help, honestly. That child's environment is not normal." Another relative wrote, "This explains her behavior. I thought she just lacked discipline, but something deeper is happening." My vision blurred. Then the next notification hit. Ryan is typing. Hazel looked up fast. "Dad?" I nodded slowly. Ryan hates confrontation. If he's typing something in the family thread, it's either a grocery list or the end of days. Hazel leaned against me, quiet now, watching that blinking dot like it was counting down to something. I slipped her phone out of her hands before anything came through. She didn't ask why. She just folded into my side. The dots blinked. Stopped. Started again. My chest tightened. Ryan had no idea Hazel saw the post. No idea she was sitting right beside me, waiting to see which version of her father would show up. Then the typing bubble disappeared. No message. Just an empty screen and a 9-year-old trying not to breathe too loudly. Hazel whispered, "Mom?" I kept my arm around her, eyes on the screen that had gone still. At the time, it felt like nothing, just another pause in a day full of them. Looking back, I know that silence mattered far more than I realized. In the moment, it was just me and Hazel pressed together, waiting for whatever came next. If you want to know how we got here, how a grandmother ended up publicly diagnosing my child like she was auditioning for Best Amateur Psychologist with 0 credentials, you have to understand one thing. Cheryl does not believe in mess, not dislikes it, not prefers things tidy. No, Cheryl treats mess the way other people treat venomous snakes, with fear, disgust, and the deep spiritual conviction that it only happens because someone has failed morally. I learned that the first time she walked into our apartment back when Ryan and I were dating. I had 3 mugs in the sink and a stack of unopened mail on the counter. She surveyed the scene like she'd stumbled into a crime documentary. "Wow," she said. "You live like this?" I laughed because I thought she meant it jokingly. She did not. That was my first red flag. The second was how fast Ryan apologized for me. That was years ago, before Hazel was even a twinkle in my uterus. Back when I still believed I could win Cheryl over with baked goods and polite conversation. Back when I didn't realize that she considered creative a synonym for broken. The third red flag was Valerie, Ryan's sister. Valerie was the blueprint. Perfect home, perfect children, perfect hair that probably had its own social media following. Her kids, Mason and Stella, Hazel's cousins, were held up as the family gold standard. Their rooms looked like catalog displays, white bedding, labeled bins, plants that somehow didn't die. Hazel's room looks like a craft store after a grenade went off, but in a charming way if you have a soul. Every time Valerie visited, she found a new way to say, "Your child is weird," without actually using those words. She's very imaginative. she'd say, staring at Hazel's wall of taped drawings like they were visual proof of everything she feared in life. Or, Stella never needed so much stimulation. Maybe Hazel gets overstimulated easily? You know, if she's sensitive. Sensitive, scattered, unstable, different, always coded, always pointed, always concern wrapped in a thin tortilla of judgment. And Cheryl ate it up. She loved comparing the cousins, loved the way Stella lined up her crayons, and Hazel made entire universes out of scrap paper and glitter, but not in the kids are unique and wonderful kind of way. No, she treated it like a morality tale. Good child versus whatever Hazel was supposed to be. I don't know when Cheryl decided Hazel's creativity wasn't just mess, it was pathology. But it happened quietly, gradually. A comment here, a comment there. Hazel gets overwhelmed easily. Hazel doesn't seem to know how to calm herself. Hazel's room gives me anxiety. Once, and I will never forget this, Cheryl bent down in front of Hazel, who was 6 at the time, and said with deadly serious grandma concern, "Sweetie, does it feel confusing inside your head? Because it looks confusing in here." Hazel just blinked. I nearly bit through my tongue. But Ryan? He said nothing. Not because he agreed. Truth is, he adores Hazel. But because silence is how he survived his childhood. If Cheryl was the queen of order, Ryan was the dutiful knight who didn't complain even when the armor cut into his skin. And this is the part I never wanted to look at too closely. Her obsession with order wasn't just about cleanliness. It was about control. Control she exerted with her voice. Control she maintained with guilt. And control she enforced with money. Well, our money. See, Ryan being the responsible child apparently came with a subscription fee. It started small, just like all financial manipulation does. "Could you help with the electric bill this month? We're short on groceries. Can you pitch in? Gas is expensive. Could you transfer a little? Oh, and since you're dropping Hazel off, could you Venmo me for snacks?" Then it became automatic. A monthly transfer Ryan set up temporarily, which somehow became permanent. He never told me the exact amount until recently. I always assumed it was small. Spoiler, it wasn't small. And the funniest part? The money wasn't even just coming from some corporate ladder he climbed. A chunk of it was coming from me, the person Cheryl sneers at for being too artsy to take life seriously. I'm a graphic designer. My entire income is built on colors, sketches, scribbles, mood boards, half-finished ideas taped to the fridge. Hazel didn't inherit her creativity from nowhere. She got it straight from me. The same chaotic streak Cheryl loves to diagnose like it's a hereditary condition. And yet, somehow, my chaotic streak was helping pay Cheryl's electric bill. The irony was nauseating. It wasn't just the monthly transfer. It was the constant little emergencies, the soft-voiced guilt trips. Once, Ryan asked if I could cover $120 for his parents' urgent groceries because he'd already sent too much that month. I didn't want to. I did it anyway. Fighting felt petty. Saying no felt ungrateful. That's how it always went. I hadn't connected the dots until now. The comments, the criticism, the money, the control. Different heads of the same monster. Hazel was curled beside me, trying to make herself smaller, and Ryan's typing bubble flickered at the bottom of the chat. I didn't know what he was about to say. I just knew things weren't going back to the way they were. The message dropped while Hazel was in the bathroom brushing her teeth. I didn't breathe while I read it. "Mom, you posted a picture of my wife and my daughter and invited the whole family to talk about what is wrong with a 9-year-old. That is not concern. That is cruel. If you think my child is defective, you do not belong in her life. You've been happy to take our money for years, but you have no problem insulting us. That ends now. If you need help, ask Valerie." I should have said this a long time ago. This is the last message you'll get from me. Ryan. No extra lines, no emojis, no love you but. Just that. I stared at it so hard my eyes hurt. For a second, nothing happened. Then under his message, Ryan left the group. If you've never watched a group chat lose its favorite toy, let me tell you, the silence is almost funny. If I hadn't been shaking, I might have laughed. Nobody reacted. Nobody hearted. Nobody wow-faced. It was like the whole family's Wi-Fi cut out at the same time. Then finally, Cousin Dan. Whoa! Aunt Linda. Did he just leave? Valerie. What is going on? I backed out of the chat before I could start doom-scrolling my in-laws' confusion. I didn't need to watch them pretend they had no idea how they'd gotten here. From down the hall, the bathroom door creaked open. Mom? Hazel called. Can I spit now, or will Grandma post that too? The joke was weak, but the fact that she made one at all felt like a small miracle. Spit away, I said, my voice way steadier than I felt. She padded into the bedroom a minute later, hair damp, pajamas on, face clean but still puffy from crying. Did he send it? She asked, climbing onto the bed beside me. Yeah, I said. He sent it. What did Dad say? I thought about showing her the whole thing, letting her see every word. Then I imagined her reading defective again and decided I like my child's nervous system intact. He told them what they did was wrong, I said. He told them they don't get to talk about you like that, and he told them this was the last time. Hazel twisted a loose thread on the duvet. Are they mad? Probably, I said. My phone buzzed. Ryan's name lit up the screen. I stepped into the hallway to answer. Hey, I started, but he cut in. Is she okay? His voice wasn't angry or shaky, just urgent. She saw it, I said. She saw everything. A beat of silence. Not long, but heavy. Okay, he said finally. I'm almost home. That was it. No rambling, no panic. Just a decision landing. He hung up. Hazel was sitting cross-legged on the bed when he walked in a few minutes later, holding herself still the way kids do when they're scared of tipping anything over. He went straight to her. You didn't do anything wrong, he told her, kneeling so they were eye level. Not one thing. What they wrote was wrong. Not you. She breathed out, like she'd been holding it all evening. Okay, she whispered. Can I sleep in your room tonight? Yeah, go pick a pillow, I said. We're doing a family sleepover tonight. That got the smallest smile. She slid off the bed and padded down the hall. The door clicked shut behind her. Ryan didn't pause. He walked straight to the dining table, opened his laptop, and started clicking like he was defusing a bomb, only he knew how to handle. I didn't ask what he was doing. I didn't have to. His shoulders told me everything. Tight, precise, done. A few minutes later, he closed the laptop with a quiet thud. Then my phone rang. Cheryl. I looked at him. He gave a single nod. I put it on speaker. What is this? She snapped immediately. You leave the chat? You embarrass us in front of the whole family? What kind of tantrum is this? Ryan didn't flinch. It wasn't a tantrum. You're being ridiculous, she said. You don't mean that message. You're under stress. Jenna is filling your head with... Stop, he said. Calm. Flat. The kind of voice that ends conversations, not starts them. You owe us, Gerald barked in the background. We raised you. We supported you. You don't get to just walk away. I already did, Ryan said. Cheryl let out a scoff, sharp enough to cut drywall. Fine. Be dramatic. You're still covering the insurance next week, and your father's card is due. And the... No, Ryan said. A long, stunned pause. What do you mean, no? Gerald demanded. I'm not paying for anything anymore. Another silence. This one sharper, confused. I could almost hear Cheryl trying to do the math. You will, she said finally, brittle. Once you calm down, once you realize how ungrateful you're being. Ryan didn't give her the satisfaction of a sigh. I'm not paying for anything ever again. You can't just cut us off, she snapped. You think you can, but you can't. You need to come to your senses. Ryan looked at me, then at the phone. This is me in my senses. You're throwing away your family, she hissed. You made that decision when you posted that picture, he said. Not me. Cheryl went quiet for the first time all night. Then, we'll speak again when you're being reasonable. No, Ryan said. You won't. He ended the call. Just ended it. No dramatic flourish. No trembling hand. Just a thumb and a finality that felt heavier than anything he'd ever said out loud. He set the phone down and exhaled once. Steady, not shaky. From down the hall, Hazel called, Dad, which pillow do you want? Ryan's eyes softened. Whichever one you pick, he called back. He turned to me. His voice was low, certain, a man who had finally cut the right wire. This isn't over, he said. Not after what they did. And I knew he was right. If you've ever watched someone lose control of a narrative they were so sure they owned, you'll know the exact sound Cheryl made 2 days later. It was the digital equivalent of a scream. Cheryl Martin posted in Glenford Neighborhood Families, a public group, thousands of members, local moms, dads, teachers, PTA addicts, the type of people who post lost cat flyers and argue about parking etiquette. And there, in front of all of Glenford, was Hazel's room again. Except this time, the caption wasn't, "Some people should not be allowed to have kids." No, this version was much more insidious. I never wanted to post this, but I'm so worried for my granddaughter. I expressed gentle concern about her living conditions and was cut off by my son and his wife. We supported them financially for years, and this is how they treat us. Please tell me, am I overreacting? Doesn't this look unsafe for a child? A few things happened in my body simultaneously. My jaw clenched. My stomach dropped. And some kind of quiet, murderous calm settled in behind my ribs. Gentle concern? I muttered out loud. Is that what we're calling diagnosing a 9-year-old as defective now? And the finance part. The finance part. Supported them for years. I nearly snorted coffee out of my nose. Hazel was at school. Ryan was at work. I was alone with my phone, reading strangers' comments trickle in. User 1. This is so sad, Cheryl. Looks like neglect, to be honest. User 2. Some parents are too sensitive when you try to help them. User 3. Valerie, obviously. You did everything right, Mom. You're just worried for Hazel. Of course Valerie was there, probably refreshing the page like she was bidding on eBay. My fingers shook. Not with fear, just disbelief at how familiar this pattern was. Cheryl loses control. Cheryl rewrites reality. Cheryl begs for public validation. Cheryl's loyal foot soldier, Valerie, arrives with complimentary tissues and gasoline. Then a comment from someone I didn't know. User 8. If the child's room is really like this, honestly, the grandma has a point. You know what? Fine. Enough. I screenshotted the post. I screenshotted the comments. I screenshotted every instance of Cheryl pretending to be Mother Teresa of cleanliness. Then I texted Ryan, "You need to see what your mother just did." He replied almost instantly, "On my way home." Good, because if I had to sit with this information alone much longer, I was going to start redesigning the concept of consequences. The door opened 20 minutes later. Ryan walked in with that same steel backbone energy he'd had the night he finally stopped tolerating their nonsense, except now it carried a quiet edge. "Where is it?" he asked. I handed him my phone. He read, jaw tight, eyes narrowing slightly at each line, paused at the "we supported them financially" sentence. Then he exhaled slowly. "Okay," he said. "She picked the wrong lie today." He walked to the table, sat down, and pulled out his own phone. I thought he was going to rant, or call her, or, God forbid, try to reason with the unreasonable. But no, he typed. A single, precise, lethal comment under Cheryl's post. I watched over his shoulder. "Mom, please stop. You didn't express concern. You publicly insulted Hazel, encouraged comments diagnosing her, and used her photo without permission. Also, you haven't supported us financially. I've sent you $26,400 over the last 3 years. This is the last time I'll correct your version of events. Do not post our daughter again." Then he posted one screenshot, the original comment thread where Cheryl and her cheerleaders called Hazel unstable, off, feral, defective. The room went dead quiet. Every hair on my arm stood up. Because in the hierarchy of Martin family disasters, this was Ryan dropping the nuclear code. And Glenford neighborhood families noticed. The comments reversed faster than a church group finding out their pastor has a secret OnlyFans. User 1. Wait. What? That's not concern. That's straight up mean. User 6. I didn't see these comments before. This changes things. User 4. Posting a kid's room to shame her is not okay. Valerie tried to mop up the mess. Valerie. This is being taken out of context. We were all joking. User 7. Joking about a 9-year-old needing medication? That was a joke. Then, User 10. Cheryl. This isn't a good look. And the one that sent Cheryl spiraling. User 12. I'm with Ryan. Don't involve a child in your family drama. I watched Cheryl try to claw it back in real time. Ryan is lying. He's being manipulated. We did support them emotionally. Jenna turned him against us. And then, oh, the cherry on top. We will be contacting a lawyer about visitation rights. Ryan barked a single humorless laugh. Sure, he whispered. Let's go to court and show the judge the post where you said our daughter looks unstable. That'll go great. Within minutes, the comment section devolved into that awkward, polite silence people adopt when they realize they've sided with the villain. Cheryl stopped replying. The post faded under newer ones about lost dogs and bake sales. But the damage to her reputation? Permanent. At least, that's what I thought. Until 7:14 that evening. The doorbell rang. Hazel was on the couch with us, sketching birds. Ryan and I froze at the same time. We didn't need to look through the window. We could feel who it was. Ryan opened the door only halfway, and there they were, Cheryl and Gerald, looking less like conquerors and more like two people attempting PR damage control before the next board meeting. Ryan, Cheryl said tightly, we need to talk. No, Ryan said. Don't be childish, she snapped. The online drama has gone far enough. We can move past this. You humiliated our daughter, Ryan said. We're not moving past anything. Cheryl scoffed. I posted because I was worried, and instead of thanking me, you cut us off. You're acting like a lunatic. Mom, Ryan said, voice low, patient. You lied. Again. You twisted what happened. Again. And you dragged Hazel into it. Again. Gerald stepped forward. You owe us a conversation. You owe us respect. I don't owe you anything, Ryan replied. And then Cheryl went for the classic hallmark of a narcissistic collapse. We will speak when you come to your senses. Ryan didn't blink. There won't be a next time. Behind me, Hazel peeked around the couch corner, watching her father set fire to generations of conditioning with his bare hands. Ryan, Cheryl tried again, voice cracking just slightly. You're choosing her over us? He answered instantly. Yes, and I should have done it a long time ago. He shut the door. No slamming, no theatrics. Just a quiet end to a decades-long performance. And somewhere behind that closed door, I swear I could feel something enormous shifting. Not in Cheryl, not in Gerald, in us, in our home, in Hazel's world. For the first time, the air felt breathable. And for the first time, I knew the next chapter wasn't going to be about them at all. It was going to be about us. 6 months later, the silence is still holding. Cheryl and Gerald never contacted us again, not directly. Valerie tried once. She called to inform us, in her most wounded princess voice, that Mom and Dad expect you to resume helping them financially. Ryan just said, "That's your problem now," and hung up. She didn't try again. We only hear updates through the Glenford grapevine, which, unfortunately for Cheryl, has a long memory. Her concerned grandma post backfired hard. People still whisper. They avoid her at PTA meetings. Someone told me she tried to volunteer at a school fair and ended up working a booth alone because no one would share a table with her. And then, the kicker, they had to sell their house. Downsized to something smaller, cheaper, and much farther away. Actions, consequences, etc. Meanwhile, our life? Better than I ever imagined. All the money Ryan used to funnel into that black hole stays with us now. We took Hazel on her first real vacation. We even visit my parents more. Turns out there's a lot more emotional room when you're not constantly managing other people's expectations. Hazel's drawing almost every day. She told me she might want to be an artist when she grows up. I told her she already is. So, what do you think? Did we go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more. My 7-year-old daughter saw the 52-person family tree my parents proudly hung in their hallway. Everyone was on it. Except me and her. There wasn't enough space, my parents said. I didn't shout. I did this. Everyone in the room fell dead silent. If you've never tried hosting Christmas in a house where you're technically part of the family, but also somehow the live-in maid, let me tell you, it's a very specific flavor of hell. By noon, I'd already washed 3 rounds of dishes, reheated appetizers twice, and rescued 2 burning trays of potatoes from the oven, while my mom, who allegedly couldn't use her arm, directed me from the dining room like a general at war. My 7-year-old daughter, Ellie, flitted around me in her little red dress, trying to help until my mother snapped, "Sweetie, go play! Tara can handle this." Tara can handle this. Tara always handles this. I kept my smile tight and polite, the same way I always did. Dry humor is a survival skill in this house. If you can't laugh at your own emotional destruction, what can you laugh at? Everyone was buzzing about the big surprise my parents planned to reveal before dinner, the giant family tree mural they'd hired an artist to paint in the hallway, 52 names, 52 portraits, months of planning, weeks of bragging. I hadn't seen it yet, not for lack of trying. Whenever I asked, they'd wave me off with, "You'll see it with everyone else. It's special." The mural stayed covered with a huge canvas sheet, like some sacred relic awaiting its grand unveiling. I should have listened to the uneasy feeling crawling at the back of my mind. But it was Christmas, and Ellie was excited, and I wanted, just once, to believe we were included in something. Dinner prep hit its peak meltdown phase around 4 o'clock. Aunts and cousins piled in, shedding coats, greeting one another with the kind of affection you see in commercials. My parents glowed with pride, welcoming everyone into the hallway like royalty hosting a ball. Then, finally, the moment came. "Everyone gather around!" my father called out, puffed up like a parade balloon. People shuffled closer, wine glasses in hand, cheeks rosy. Ellie squeezed my hand, eyes wide. My parents grabbed the corners of the canvas cover and with dramatic flair pulled it down. The crowd gasped, applauded. Someone actually said, "Oh, wow, this is beautiful." I barely glanced at it. I was holding a platter of rolls and trying not to fling it across the room. When you're the designated servant of Christmas, appreciation isn't part of the job description. As the guests swarmed the mural like moths to flame, I slipped back to the kitchen to fix the gravy Mom said was too thin, which, ironically, is also what she used to say about my personality. I didn't see Ellie wander off. It was 20 minutes later, when everyone was seated, when wine was flowing, when my dad toasted to family unity, that Ellie returned. Her tiny hand tugged at my arm. "Mom?" I knelt beside her. "What's wrong, baby?" Her eyes were shiny. Not crying, but close. "I can't find me." "Find you?" I echoed. She nodded, swallowing hard. "On the tree." I looked really hard. "Can you help me?" Something in me went cold. I stood up, ignoring my mother's hissed, "Tara, sit! We're making a toast." "No, not tonight." Ellie led me to the mural. We stood in front of it together, the hallway suddenly feeling impossibly long and too bright. It was elaborate. Branches curling in gold, little portraits painted in soft watercolor tones, names in careful script underneath. I scanned it, expecting to find us tucked somewhere out of the way I found. My sister Heather, her husband Blake, their daughter Kira. 5 cousins, 3 second cousins, the cousin who never calls the cousin's wife the cousin's wife's mother. Okay. I found the neighbor from 2 houses down the au pair who lived with us for 1 year a decade ago, my mother's best friend, even a distant great-aunt I swear hasn't been conscious since 2003, but not me, not Ellie. I felt my chest tighten. Okay, don't panic. Look slower. We checked again. Every branch, every leaf, every swirl of painted gold. Nothing. Ellie's voice came out small. "Maybe they spelled my name wrong?" My heart cracked a little. I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to invent an excuse that would soften the blow. But the truth sat there, staring back at me in 52 perfectly painted faces. We weren't forgotten. We were excluded. On purpose. I marched straight to my parents. Mom was laughing with a guest, holding her wine glass high, the picture of holiday joy. "Mom," I said quietly, "Ellie and I aren't on the mural." She blinked at me, her face barely shifting. "Oh, well, there wasn't enough space. There are 52 people on it. Yes, and it couldn't fit everyone," she said dismissively. "You included the au pair. Well, she was special to us. You included neighbors. Close friends count as family. And Ellie doesn't?" Mom's expression tightened. "Tara, you're making a scene. It's a simple decoration." I stared at her. A simple decoration. My daughter's name erased. My existence erased, and it wasn't even worthy of guilt. Just annoyance. Behind me, Ellie stood very still. That decided it. I leaned down to her. "Sweetheart, go upstairs. Pack your backpack." She nodded once, silently, and hurried up the stairs. I didn't bother explaining to anyone else. Not my parents, not the guests, not the people who stared at me like I'd broken the Christmas spell. I went upstairs, grabbed my own bag, shoved in what mattered, and walked back down with Ellie's hand in mine. Conversation stopped. Forks froze midair, eyes widened. Someone whispered, "Are they leaving?" Yes, we were. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't owe them a performance. We stepped out into the crisp night air. Ellie shivered, gripping her bag. I unlocked the car, loaded our things, and got into the driver's seat. Ellie buckled her seatbelt slowly. "Mom, where are we going?" I started the engine. My hands were steady for the first time in years. "Somewhere better," I said. "We're starting over." She nodded, trusting me completely. As the house grew smaller in the rearview mirror, I felt something lift. Something heavy. Something old. Whatever came next. They had no idea, and neither did I. But I knew one thing: we weren't coming back. I didn't sleep that first night in the hotel. Ellie did, curled up under the stiff white duvet like she finally felt safe. But I lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling something old and ugly claw its way up my spine, because leaving wasn't just about the mural. It was about everything that came before it. Everything that built the version of me my parents counted on. Everything that made them believe wiping me and my daughter off a 52-person family tree was acceptable. You don't cut someone out of your life suddenly. You do it slowly, layer by layer, year after year. And the truth? My parents had been cutting me out since the beginning. I was 2 years older than Heather, and apparently that made me the designated work mule of childhood. If there was a mess in the house, guess who cleaned it? If something broke, guess who fixed it? If Mom needed help sorting bills or packing holiday boxes or straightening up, guess who she called? Not the golden child. No, Heather's job was to exist. My job was to keep existence running smoothly. There's this one memory I can't shake. I was maybe 10. My parents decided they wanted the hallway repainted before a family gathering, and I spent a whole Saturday painting the bottom half of the wall. Primer, 2 coats of color, trim, everything Heather contributed by walking through once and saying, "Pretty." The next day, someone complimented the paint job. My mom smiled and said, "Isn't Heather talented?" I stood there holding the empty paint can like a confused extra in my own life. I told her, "I painted it." And my mother said, "Yes, but she helped pick the color." Dry humor is hereditary, I guess. I think that was the first time I laughed out of disbelief. It didn't change when we got older. Teenage Heather was always busy. Busy with a club, busy with a project, busy with Blake even when he was just the boy she giggled about, busy being the person my parents wanted her to be. If I asked for help, "Oh, Tara, you're so good at these things," Mom would say. "You don't mind doing it, right?" Right. Because why would I ever have homework, or deadlines, or a life? And then adulthood hit, but instead of equality, the dynamic calcified. I became a single mom. Heather got married, had Kira, started posting photos of her color-coordinated life on Instagram, and my parents ate it up. Every school project Kira did, genius. Every minor achievement Heather made, groundbreaking. Every accomplishment I had, accidents, apparently. "You got promoted? Oh, that's nice. You manage everything on your own? Impressive. Considering." That considering did have a tone. Then 2 years ago, everything snapped into place like a trap. Mom broke her arm. Suddenly, the house was in chaos. Dad couldn't cook a frozen pizza without burning the box, and apparently picking up a sponge would have made his ancestors ashamed. So there was a family discussion. Who would move in temporarily to help? Shockingly, Heather was too busy. Kira had ballet. Blake had long work hours. Heather had a big presentation coming up. All very convincing, in a please don't look too closely at the lies sort of way. So guess who moved in? Me and Ellie. Or as my parents liked to call us, our big help. It was supposed to be temporary, just until Mom healed. Except Mom's arm healed. And then apparently healed wrong. And then was still sore. And then was not quite usable. And then was unsafe for housework. And then, miraculously, was perfectly fine whenever she went to Heather's house. Heather would brag, "Mom baked banana bread for us yesterday." Funny, she never baked while I was living there. Maybe her arm just didn't like me. At first I tried to rationalize it. She's older, she needs help. Dad can't manage things. Family supports each other, right? But after the 6th month of doing every meal, every grocery run, every load of laundry, every bill, every tax form, and every repair while also paying them rent, something started to crack. Not loudly, quietly, like a hairline fracture under pressure. I don't understand. I told Mom once. Why I'm paying rent when I'm doing all the cleaning and cooking? She waved her good arm and said, well, if you didn't live here, we could rent out the room to someone else. Right. Someone else who would presumably both pay rent and fix their entire lives. And still, I stayed. For Ellie, for stability, for the guilt that had been stitched into me since childhood. Until the mural. That stupid, expensive, elaborate, meticulously planned mural, 52 names. Neighbors, distant relatives, family friends, an au pair, a cousin's wife's mother, and not me, not Ellie, not even squeezed onto a tiny corner branch, like an afterthought my parents didn't forget us. They erased us, and somehow, that freed me. I woke up in the hotel to the sound of Ellie shifting in the other bed, and for a moment I didn't remember where we were. Then it hit me. The mural. The dinner. The way everyone stared as we walked out. The way my mother didn't even bother calling after us. And instead of panic, what hit me first was adrenaline. This wasn't running away. This was breaking free. Ellie blinked awake, confused, hair sticking up everywhere. Mom, where are we? In a hotel, I said. Just for now. She looked scared for half a second, then scanned my face and found her anchor. Are we going home? No, I said. We're done with that. Her eyes widened. For real? For real. There it was. The flicker. Relief. Maybe for the first time in her short life. I got up, grabbed my bag, pulled out my laptop, and set it on the desk like I was preparing for war, and in a way, I was. First target? The money they bled from me. I logged into my bank accounts, pulled up the rent transfer my parents insisted on, clicked cancel, and didn't even blink. Then the grocery transfers. Then the extra utilities contribution nonsense. Then the insurance line I had been paying for no reason other than, you make more sense with paperwork, Tara. Click, click, click. Every cancellation felt like cutting another rope off my chest. Ellie climbed out of bed and patted over. Mom, what are you doing? Freeing us. She watched the screen, fascinated. Can I help? You know what? Yes. Press that button. She pressed confirm cancellation, and I swear that girl has never looked prouder. Then came the vacation. I pulled up a cabin rental website, something Ellie and I used to scroll through together, dreaming. Pick one, I told her. Her whole face lit up like a sunrise. Really? Really, I said. We're not spending our money on people who erased us. She pointed to a tiny lakeside cabin with a deck and a fireplace. She'd asked about it months ago, and I'd said no because we can't afford it. Now I booked it without hesitation. Mom, she whispered, didn't you say we didn't have money? We didn't, I said. But now we stopped paying for people who didn't treat us like family. That changes things. Her smile cracked something open inside me, something tight and old and angry. This was worth everything. My phone buzzed. Then again. Then again. I put it face up so Ellie could see. Where are you? Come home, now. Your mother is in pain. Do you realize what you've done? The kitchen is a disaster. Who's supposed to clean it? People are asking where you are. Get back here. Ellie frowned. They're being rude. That's one word for it. I typed one message. We're not on your family tree. Handle your own family. Then I put my phone on silent and tossed it onto the bed. No more explanations. Around noon, Ellie and I spread apartment listings across the bed. Photos, prices, maps. She took it very seriously, which was adorable considering her main filtering criteria seemed to be, do I like the window? We found one with a bay window and a tree outside. Ellie pressed her palm to the photo like she was already imagining herself there. Can we live here? She asked. We can try, I said. It felt possible. For the first time in years, everything felt possible. And then the tone of my parents' messages flipped. The last one came in like a punch. "If you don't answer, we're filing a missing person report." I snorted. "Of course they are." Ellie looked up. "What does that mean?" "It means your grandparents are panicking because they don't know how to cook breakfast." She giggled, which I appreciated. A few hours later, "We filed it. The police are looking for you." I set the phone down slowly. There it was. The escalation. The moment the game changed. They weren't scared. They weren't worried. They weren't trying to check if we were safe. They were trying to pull the leash. Too bad the collar was already off. The knock came just after 8. 3 sharp taps. Ellie froze. I put my hand on her back and whispered, "It's okay." I opened the door. 2 officers stood there, calm, polite, professional. "Ma'am," one said, "your parents filed a missing person report for you and your daughter." I nodded. "Of course they did." He blinked, surprised at my lack of surprise. "We explained to them this doesn't meet the criteria," he said. "But because a child is involved, we do need to make sure you're safe." "Come in," I said, stepping aside. Ellie waved at them from the bed, clutching her blanket. "You both left voluntarily?" "Yes." "No one threatened you?" "No." "And you're safe?" "Yes." The officers exchanged a look, relieved. "All right, then we're done here. Sorry to bother you." "Not your fault," I said. They left quietly. When the door closed, the silence was different than the morning. It wasn't peaceful. It wasn't empty. It was charged. Ellie crawled into my lap, sleepy and warm. "Are we okay?" "We're perfect," I said. "They just don't like that we're gone." "Are they mad at us?" "They're mad they lost control." She nodded and rested her head on my shoulder. And there it was. The truth I hadn't said out loud yet. Leaving wasn't the end of the fight. It was the beginning. 4 weeks later, the quiet in our new apartment felt almost suspicious, like life was holding its breath before something cracked. Peace wasn't something I trusted yet. Not after the way my parents operated. I blocked my parents. I blocked Heather. I blocked anyone who might be in their little circle of denial. But there were still some extended relatives who slipped through. Second cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. An aunt who once forgot my name. People who suddenly felt deeply invested in my moral decline. "Why aren't you talking to your parents?" "This is a family matter, honey. Your mother is devastated. You need to stop being dramatic." I didn't explain a thing. "It's private," I'd say. "Between me and them. I'm focusing on my daughter." Translation: mind your own business. They didn't like that, so eventually they gave up. For a few days, life felt normal. Too normal. Cue shoe dropping. I was in the middle of drafting an email at work when my boss poked his head into my office with an expression normally reserved for fire alarms. "Tara," he said carefully, "there's someone asking to see you in the lobby." My stomach hit the floor. My first thought? Oh, hell. My second? It's them. They found me. My third. Ellie is safe at school. They can't get to her. I stood up, smoothed my shirt, and walked out like I wasn't dying inside. And there she was. Heather. She had never, not once in her entire life, shown up at my workplace. She looked completely out of place among the suits and glass walls, sweaty, disheveled, breathing like she'd sprinted from the parking lot. "Tara," she said, grabbing my arm, "you need to come home. Now." "Let go," I said quietly. "What are you doing here?" She didn't let go. "Mom and Dad. Tara, they're a mess." "Oh, here we go." "They can't keep the house clean," she rattled off. "They're living on takeout. The utilities are behind. The paperwork. Tara, you have no idea. The paperwork. Dad can't figure anything out. Mom says her arm hurts too much, the fridge broke, the bills are piling up. So hire someone, I said. She blinked. They don't have money. They had money for a 52-person mural. That's different. Sure, I said. Art is forever. Clean dishes are temporary. She pushed her hair back with a shaky hand. You don't get it. I don't have time to deal with this. I have a job and a husband, and Kira's activities. I can't just drop everything. I stared at her. Oh, I said. So basically, you're too busy. Yes, she said, relieved I finally understood. And you think I'm not? She froze. I watched the realization crawl across her face like a slow bug. Her face tightened. This isn't fair, Tara. You can't just disappear and dump everything on me. Oh? I said. So now it's your turn and suddenly it's not fair? She looked away. You're the one who had the time, she snapped. You lived with them. You handled everything. That was your role. My role, I repeated. Assigned by who? She didn't answer. I stepped closer. Let me try your logic on you, Heather. You were the daughter they celebrated, the daughter they bragged about, the daughter who got every perk, and somehow I was still the one expected to do all the work. That's not... They cut me and Ellie off their family tree, I said. You know what that means? It means we weren't family to them. So why exactly am I supposed to keep acting like their personal staff? Her mouth opened, then shut. No words. You visit them, I said. You post photos with them. You're the one they claim. So why aren't you stepping up? I don't have time, she whispered. Neither did I said. But I still did it for years. And they erased me anyway. Her eyes flashed with something. Shame, annoyance, maybe both. This is unbelievable, she muttered. You're just walking away? I already did. She stared at me like she was waiting for the old version of me to show up. The one who would rush in, apologize, fix everything she didn't find her. I can't handle this, she said, voice trembling. You were never supposed to, I replied. That was always the problem. She swallowed hard. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking like tiny explosions of defeat down the hallway. That evening, I picked Ellie up from school, and for the first time all day, I took a full breath. We walked home together, bags bouncing, Ellie chatting about a penguin drawing she'd made in art class, and then I saw them, my parents, standing in front of my building like two ghosts who hadn't realized they were dead yet. Ellie stiffened. I put an arm around her. Tara! My mother cried, rushing forward. How could you do this to us? Oh, for heaven's sake, my father muttered. She's really going to make this difficult. Mom clasped her chest. Do you want your daughter to abandon you one day, like you abandoned us, when we needed you the most? Right. The guilt parade. You're teaching her terrible things, Dad added. What kind of mother are you? I stared at them, calm, cold. You left us off the family tree, I said softly. You told the whole world we didn't exist. Mom waved a hand. Oh, stop it. It was symbolic. It was accurate, I said. You treat Heather like a daughter. You treat me like a housekeeper you don't pay. Dad stepped forward. You owe us money. For what? I asked. Babysitting Ellie for a few hours when you begged me to let you? Or was it the rent I paid you while cooking every meal, cleaning every dish, managing your paperwork, and running your home? They both faltered. If anyone owes anyone money, I said, it's you, to me. Mom's voice shrank. Tara, we need you. No, I said. You need a maid. A silence fell so heavy it felt physical. My parents looked at me, then at Ellie, who was staring at them like she didn't recognize them anymore. Please, Mom whispered. You're our daughter. I shook my head. You made that choice when you erased us." And just like that, their faces broke. Not in sadness, in shock, in disbelief that I wasn't folding back into their control. They turned and walked away, but the damage had already been done, just not the way they thought. Because for the first time, they couldn't manipulate me. For the first time, I was free. About a year later, I started hearing scraps of news about my parents from the few relatives I still tolerated. Apparently, after I left, they tried to keep things exactly the same, meaning they tried to replace me with a cleaner, a handyman, and some household helper they found online. It lasted 2 months. The bills lasted much longer. When the invoices piled up, they expected Heather to step in. She laughed. "Absolutely not." That was the beginning of their golden child illusion cracking. By spring, Mom's bad arm healed with miraculous speed. Convenient. Right around the time they realized no one else was going to sweep their floors, Dad even started cooking. And yes, the neighborhood still hasn't recovered from the shock. Eventually, the math caught up to them. No rent coming in from me, no free labor, expensive helpers, missed payments. They had to sell the house. They moved into a much smaller place across town, 2 bedrooms, thin walls, and neighbors close enough to hear their arguments. People started distancing themselves too. Once the mural story circulated, their social circle shrank fast. Nobody likes a family that erases family. Meanwhile, my life went in the opposite direction. Ellie and I thrived. My finances stabilized so quickly it was embarrassing how long I'd struggled. This spring, I put a down payment on a little house with a big window that Ellie immediately claimed for her art. Funny how life changes when you stop letting people drain you dry. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.